In a world without Miracle Draven, one podcast exists to bring you all the news you need in Riftbound, and it's the Super Mega Riftbound Podcast, episode 17, coming to your guys' way. Stick around, we got a lot to talk about today. It's going to be a good episode.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Super Mega Riftbound episode 17, nearing that episode 20 mark. I'm glad to be back. All three of us, Ghael and I talked earlier in the week about bans, but we are happy to be back with Eli as well to talk about maybe a little more bans in a little bit. We're also going to talk about all the rules updates that have come out. Ghael's going to just do that and just his thoughts, and we'll tack on some opinions as well. And we'll go into our three favorite cards that we're most excited about to play with. They're going to be the best, but cards that we're personally excited about to see grow in this game. But as always, we'll start with last week in Riftbound. Eli, we haven't talked to you since last week. How was your last week in Riftbound?
My last week in Riftbound went great. I actually played a local that I had fun playing in yesterday, which was really stellar. Similar reviews from everyone else as well. We didn't go into time a single time, and we got out of the shop 30 minutes earlier than we have been every week that we've gone. So both the shop owners happy about that, and I think all the players were happy about that as well. So that felt really, really nice. The bands definitely made an impact on the local scene. People just seemed generally happier and very excited to play Riftbound again. I offhand heard multiple comments of people saying, man, this feels like I'm playing Riftbound. And I was like, that's a good sign. Makes sense that these bands would impact it in that way. But yeah, I had a great week. Picked up some cool cards. My buddy Joe went 2-1 with Tempo Timo yesterday. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then to celebrate, he traded for a GG Easy Timo today. So I'm excited to see that next week. See him pop that one out. He made a joke and was, because he was playing one Timo in the champ zone, two Timo in the main deck. And he made a joke about picking up all three to shuffle them into the deck, and I was like, "I will actually kill you on the spot."
He's gonna put
Easy Timos in.
He's gonna put the GG Easy Timo in the deck and play a regular one in the champ zone. That's what
that makes sense. Perfect.
That way, when you hide it and reveal it, it's a bigger reveal.
Can you swap the GG Easy Timos in between games? So like you could like have one art and then put the GG Easy one in the second game. That's cool. I like that. That's awesome. But yeah, I had a great week in Riftbound. Looking forward to some more. Have a skirmish this weekend. First skirmish that I personally get to play in. So that'll be great.
First skirmish I'll be judging
them. Yep, there you go, Teddy. That's exactly why I thought they didn't reach out to me. You snake. No, I'm excited to play. I'm very excited to play. I haven't gotten to play in one yet. I haven't decided if I'm going to play Victor or Rek'Sai yet, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Rek'Sai.
What about you guys?
Yeah, my last week in Riftbound was pretty great. I realized that we will have an unleashed sealed 5K, like in spitting distance of us.
Yep.
So I'm super excited to go do that. I've been doing some unleashed sealed to try and like figure out what the pools are and like, sweat a little bit for it. And it's a really fun format.
You got to invite me to that. I want to do that too. Sounds
like
a blast.
Yeah, for sure. We could do some later. But yeah, I've been interested in doing that, and I'm getting some finishing touches on some of the Aggro Irelia sideboard. And then I'm working on Lilia next for set 3.
Very cool.
So it's been exciting.
Yeah. My last week in Riftbound has been a little mundane. I took a break this week from going to any locals. Final exams and final presentations are really ramping up, so I've been focusing on those. I will say, the one thing I did get in, I've never seen it, the Uniqlo TCG bag. Kind of guys can't see it, but I got this in the mail today. And I will say, this is probably the best trading card game bag I've used. I have 2 deck boxes that are like commander size in there. I have another smaller deck box. My entire playmat 2 fits in there with other boxes for sleeves. Like legitimately, like I highly recommend it. So that was my last week in Riftbound. I was getting a new bag, but also been testing Lilia online as well. I'm just kind of looking up towards, I don't really have anything for set 2. So on the back end of that 5K, that sealed 5K, that Sunday of that weekend here, we have a just constructed 5K. That I will be playing, and I want to do the sealed one, but it's my day of graduation, so I kind of can't miss that.
Well, you can. Yeah,
yeah.
Unfortunate.
Day of graduation, and then a nice steak dinner downtown. And I feel like I may take that
Oh no, definitely. I will say that the sealed 5K is going to be a
I
blast.
know,
Like
Yeah,
I
awesome.
love
Super
sealed
excited.
events and Magic, and so sealed and Riftbound, that sounds right up my alley. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that, especially
Yeah.
with it being so local to us. We
Yeah.
don't really have to travel for it. So that's super
Yeah, it'll just be like a drive down and have a
Yeah.
little have a day of it. See what happens.
Well, I saw it. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I don't know where. Like, it's probably like not in our city. And like, oh my gosh, we actually have like something in our city that people are going to be playing in. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it works. I'm hoping we get more of that type of stuff because I think as the game goes on, sealed is going to become more popular in those type of events. And so I'm really hoping that we get to see more big events. Because imagine walking in, you open some good packs, and then you walk out with a bunch of money. Like, who doesn't like the sound of that?
What we're gonna see with sealed specifically, a little bit of a tangent, not too much. We're gonna see with sealed specifically, as sets go on, it's going to become more clear that they designed sets with sealed in mind, because that when they were designing the first couple of sets, right, they designed the board game, and then they're like, oh, it's good. They're designing the game, but since they had such a block of things already designed, I don't think they were designing with sealed fully in mind.
Yeah.
But as we progress, we're going to get more of that. That's super cool, and I think it's art. You already see that in Unleashed. There's a lot of really cool sealed cards.
Yeah, I think they can be a little bit more cognizant of what rarity they put some cards at.
Oh yeah,
There are
Punch
some
First
cards,
is a huge egregious example.
It's
from
so
last
yeah,
set.
for sure. In the next set, Starcrossed is a common.
Starcross.
Oh, it's
Which
a
is-
common.
It's
Yes.
a common.
What's
so that
is
one-
abandoned and uncommon?
That's so
I
gross.
think so. I don't remember.
Well,
but-
abandon isn't as
but
good.
abandoned,
in
like
sealed.
it doesn't matter. In
No, yeah, I
Yeah,
guess it's
it isn't
alright.
as good in sealed, but like Starcrossed is a common in sealed.
Yeah.
He's absurdly powered. Like
Yeah.
I would go into purple
Just-
just to
oh,
play
yeah,
multiple
for sure.
Starcrossed that I
Yeah.
played. Yeah,
For sure, yeah. So
I
it's very funny that
I
they-
feel like we're gonna see a lot of purple in sealed just in next set, and hopefully it's different in future sets. But I think purple is just gonna be super strong. Can you imagine you pull a Vex apathetic, like have like
I
just put
did.
it-
I had a sealed pack that was Vex Apathetic and then the purple Diana no
Mhm.
longer needed. And I just did a
that's
ton of spells
gross.
and like
That's gross.
The best part of Vex Apathetic in sealed for next set is that it just turns off random stuff like Sprite Fountain and the Sprite Queen bomb.
Towering
like-
Paraphant.
Right.
just
There's just
like-
a lot of random stuff that can accelerate, and it just turns off all of this. So
Like how good
gonna
was
get
Armed Assailant in set 2 that like that accelerate late in the game to like swing a battlefield like that? Yeah, you get Vex and it just turns all of that stuff off.
Yeah,
so.
Towering
Next game.
Paraphant's actually a legitimate threat in the
Yeah.
sealed format. So you have Vex Apathetic on a field, Towering Paraphant can't do anything. Vilemaw, if you pull Vilemaw,
Oh my
you
God.
win the game.
Yeah.
I swear to God, there's nothing you can do to it.
Even
You have
something
just won
innocuous
the
like
game.
Dragon Soul Sage in orange, like that's an excellent sealed card. Like
Mhm.
Mana Rock and
Yeah.
sealed get you into your drops earlier than your opponent. That's very valuable.
It's
Yeah,
definitely gonna be interesting.
Besides the sealed point, though, we're very excited for that
Yes.
5K. If you can't tell, we're pumped about that. I
Um,
did want to touch on real quick before we move to the next segment. It looks like we're just going to be the Lilia podcast. To be
Yeah,
honest,
Are we
it's
all
all it's,
Lilia?
all
Yeah, I
three
think
of
it's
us
all
want
three
to
of us
play
are gonna be
Lilia
playing
next set.
Wow.
Which is just perfect. So we might just turn into the Lilia podcast for Unleashed. You'll have
Yeah,
to
what's
stay
can
tuned
we
to find out.
lilting lullaby instead of Super Mega Riftbound? We're
Nope,
gonna move
this
to
just
lilting
in.
lullaby.
Lilting Lullaby, bad card.
Yeah.
It's just in. News.
I run
News
0
flash.
copies of that, Teddy.
Yeah, I know. I was
I
just
run.
saying that.
I run.
I was
Steam
just-
sideboard. Mine
I
moves
was
to
just
sideboard.
saying that because the signature spell of Jinx is Super Mega Riftbound. Saying we would switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Super
Okay.
Mega Death Rocket. Yeah.
Super-
Anyway, moving on.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Anyways,
not
moving
Super
on.
Riftbound.
We obviously got bans earlier in the week, and Eli was not here to join us. Oh wait, this is the wrong thing.
Yeah, we got bans early in the week. I was not here to join, but I do have thoughts on these
Yes.
bans. We've got Cold Shot, Draven Vanquisher, Fight or Flight, Scrap Heap, the Dreaming Tree, Obelisk of Power, and Reaver's Row. If you remember our episode last week, prior to the episode where Teddy and Ghael went over the bans this week, we hit a couple of these as options to be banned. Specifically, we talked a lot about Obelisk of Power. We talked about Cold Shot. You floated the Draven Vanquisher ban, Ghael, which is what they ended up going with on that front. We also talked about Fight or Flight as an option and Reaver's Row as a battlefield that could go, but we viewed it as lower priority than Obelisk, and it just turns out that they banned both of them. So that doesn't really doesn't matter too much there. But
They
I think-
also touched on Dreaming Tree as well, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah,
if I remember
Dreaming
correctly.
Tree's been one that people have been wanting to ban for some time.
I mean, yeah, I think like just as bans go, in my personal opinion, I think that this was an excellent job from the Riot team. I think that under addressing could have led to some issues. I know a lot of people want them to have banned less cards, which I understand, but I think that banning this amount of cards really opens up your design space for future sets in a pretty major way, because we have this standard format that we're playing until 2028. We're currently in 2026, so we have a long time remaining with this standard format. So a wide ban like this is actually just amazing, because you can design future sets for the standard format without having these cards in the game. Specifically, killing the deep draw of Cold Shot and Scrap Heap, I think, is going to open up a lot more purple design space, which will be nice, because with those cards in the game, anything you put in purple is just instantly playable as a one-of in whatever purple deck, because any meta that happens, if that card specifically counters that meta, you're finding it regardless.
For sure.
And especially with having like cards like Vex and stuff. No, not Vex. What's the Fizz, to be able to bring it back to like any spells that any counter spells or anything. Like even if like purple decks just wanted to play one Abandon, which they probably wouldn't, but like they could easily, like an Ezreal toolbox that could play one Abandon and get it back as much as they wanted to. Just
well, you'd have to play Fizz on your opponent's to get back the Abandoned in that chain. So that's a little bit
harder. I realized as I said
that's a little bit harder to do. You can do it with stuff like Star-Crossed and the Heedless Resurrection. There's definitely some stuff you can do, but I think overall I'm very comfortable with these bans. We've already seen, at least locally, that Draven has fallen off. I think it's personally still a good deck, but not being able to curve into Draven Vanquisher definitely hurts the deck considerably. Drops it from the pedestal of the Z tier 0 deck it was down into more comfortable realms and definitely more manageable. People, early meta predictions are thinking that Aurelia, Victor, and there's the third spot kind of moves around for what people think is going to be up there. I've seen quite a few things, but personally, I don't know if I fully subscribe to it. I think the Draven is still really good. I haven't seen it played in person yet, but just the Draven legend not being changed and the combat rules not being changed kind of leads me to the fact that I think that legend's still gonna be really good. What are your guys' quick thoughts for those that did not catch the episode earlier this week?
I need you to talk about FOF real fast before I talk.
Yeah,
I need you
we
to
talk about
specifically
FOF.
about Fight or Flight.
All right, I'll talk about Fight or Flight. So I know where you're leading this, Ghael, and I don't appreciate it. I'm just going to put that out there right now.
I'm putting you into a little trap.
In my opinion, Fight or Flight was an excellent ban. A very, very good ban, because Fight or Flight, and this is coming from a player who does not play any purple and only plays the colors that Fight or Flight demolishes. So Fight or Flight made combat math nearly impossible for any board-based deck, because you had to overcommit by a wide margin into any battlefield you were trying to go into that purple controlled. And having that overcommitment puts you so far behind on board that it just wasn't worth playing the board decks that would go into those combats, because every single time you had to play around Fight or Flight. And even when they don't have Fight or Flight, they can just hide any one of their hidden sweet cards, and you have to assume it's Fight or Flight. And it really created a very toxic play pattern playing against any purple deck, because every single purple deck could play Fight or Flight. It was that efficient. It was that good. And it was incredible at making sure that your opponent was just constantly off tempo, which is like purple, I think, is going to be the tempo color. So that makes sense. But it was just too efficient of a tempo card. It's almost like Star-Crossed is 3 and a power, right?
Yeah.
To do a similar effect that also has a quote unquote downside, ends up being an upside a lot of the time, but quote unquote downside. If FOF was 3 and a power and didn't have hidden, I think it'd be fair. Or if it didn't have hidden and was like 3 power, but it was just costed too efficiently and also had hidden, and it made the card too good and too difficult to play around for a lot of decks, in my opinion.
He's bracing for cover now.
I gotta get under the desk real quick.
No. I won't fight on it too much. I just wanted to hear your opinion so I can judge you quietly in my pink book.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Write it down.
You don't even get a rebuttal, Eli. But you just sit there with your thoughts.
As far as where we expect the meta to go, I think neither of you touched on Kai'Sa. I think Kai'Sa is actually the best deck in the format.
I think so too.
I think Kai'Sa is clearly far and above the way the deck that benefited the most from all of this. She didn't really care about Obelisk too much. She cared about it a little bit, but not like too much. Reaver's Rose is obviously an excellent battlefield for her, but I think she's totally fine without it. And her play around with Fight or Flight was one of the worst of any decks.
Absolutely.
A lot
Darius
of
coming into a Fight or Flight was just
her
backbreaking.
only good units that she ever played were like Watcher and Darius, and those having to play on Fight or Flight was just tough for her. And just getting rid of a lot of her counters is pretty notable. Irelia getting knocked down a massive notch. People think Irelia is like top of the meta still. I don't know if I'm necessarily on that train.
Yeah.
I think Irelia lost a lot from this, more than what you would assume. Obelisk and Dreaming Tree were huge. Dreaming Tree in particular was massive, and Fight or Flight added a lot of pressure that people I don't think are really considering when they talk about Irelia. So I'm a little bit concerned about like a standard Irelia list. I think aggro Irelia, obviously I'll tout aggro Irelia all the time. I think aggro Irelia is just going to be the way to go for Irelia, but without Foff and like Tide Turner pressures. Those two pressures together are insane.
Yes.
Hiding a Tide Turner or hiding a Foff is just like, the workarounds for both are just impossible. You have to 50-50 every time. So losing that is really tough.
That's what I was hitting on with the Foff. Yeah, it's just you couldn't play around it, and because you couldn't play around it, when they had it, you just lost the game. Yeah.
Or if it was the other one and you picked the wrong, like
it made it an impossible like rock paper scissors that you had to try to solve on the fly. Is way too good.
Yeah, I think for me, definitely losing at least for a Irelia player, losing these battlefields was not great. Like 2 very strong battlefields that we had, like Ghael said, just went out the door. If you don't see Stellacorn, like if you're just playing standard Irelia now, you don't see Stellacorn and you're not able to get some moves off and get some draw there, you're more or less not being able to very much succeed in the game. You might be able to hold on for a little bit, but if you don't see like your special tools like the GA and the all of that, even if you're playing GA,
special tools.
You sound you make. I feel like I don't even know.
It just sounded so dirty.
Oh man.
Anyways, I like these bands. I don't know. Like Ghael mentioned it on Monday when we recorded that Foff felt like. Obviously, I understand both sides of it. As someone who played it a lot, I didn't really want it to go, but I understand why it went. But it also, like Ghael, you brought up a good point. It was like it's one of Purple's like mainstay cards, more or less. Like you kind of compared it to Hidden Blade, but obviously Hidden Blade hadn't seen that many issues. Like Hidden Blade is what Yellow does. Cole is what Yellow does, but Eli
Hidden Blade also has a downside when you
there's I know
like a very significant downside.
I'm aware, but
hey, not the point. Not the point. Foff has really real downsides too. It doesn't actually solve the problem. You know, Hidden Blade solves the problem. Foff delays the problem.
I'm gonna have to push back on that one just a little bit. Foff just wins you the game in a lot of circumstances.
Only if you're fighting on the last turn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, definitely. But like, it's not even the last turn. It's also like the turn leading to the last turn, and it doesn't say opponents, right? So you can push back your own unit to semi-flash it and then push into the other battle. Like it's too versatile. It's way too good.
Before we move on, I want to mention we got the flash update where stores are getting flashes. I feel horrible to anyone who panic bought them, but I also don't feel horrible. I saw this guy on Facebook that had like 1,000. This is exaggeration, but probably a few hundred Chinese flashes, and he was trying to sell them. And then the flash announcement came out, and they're all worthless because flash is going to be free, more or less. So
they're not actually worthless.
They
jumped back
they're
to
not
40
worthless
yesterday.
They jumped back to 40.
Different, right? They're different printings of it. So
the
ones that
that's
people
fair.
will be
I guess
getting
that's
are like
fair.
promo flashes, which it'll be interesting to see if promo flashes are actually worth less than normal flashes because of how much quantity we expect to get from that. But yeah, I mean, there's still very real reasons to keep your normal flashes. They are now like more of a collector item, I suppose. Especially as we start seeing differences in printings. We've already seen differences in like pre-riff printings where the colors are slightly off. With the PG being from a different printer, I believe these will be a little bit different cards. So original printings of PG flashes are still going to remain valuable, just maybe not in the same way driven by competitive market. It'll be more driven by collector market.
It's the same thing with like the Annie from Proving Grounds and all of the like relevant cards from Proving Grounds from the initial printing of it, because they are going different manufacturer. They definitely will be worth a little bit of money at some point as collector's items. So hold on to them if you have them.
Yeah, don't sell them.
Don't probably sell them unless you're just wanting to get off of things. But regardless, we are a bit off topic here. We'll move on to our next segment, which is our rules with Ghael wins. A lot of rules updates.
So we got significant rules updates, and a lot of this is very systemic rules updates that majority of players probably won't notice too much. A lot of this are very nitty-gritty, under the hood sort of ways the game works that if you understood how it works, there's a lot of skill expression in it, but that the casual player probably didn't notice too much. The main thing that we want to look at for these is something like the May triggers, which we're going to start here because it's the one that I know the most about because it affects me most directly. Any triggered ability that has May in the effect of it is now considered an optional trigger, which means that the choice of May is made on finalization. When you put it onto the chain, you can choose whether or not it goes onto the chain at that moment. So what this means in practice is that all of the costs for these May triggers have to happen before they go to resolution. So if you're playing an overzealous fan and I walk into your overzealous fan, you have to kill your overzealous fan so that his ability can enter the chain. And this will be how every May ability works from here on out. We will no longer have May triggered abilities having this choice on resolution. This does not affect spells that say it. So something like bullet time, you still get to have this fun game of playing the bullet time and they don't know how much damage it's going to do. So we still have a little bit of this choice on May. It's just not going to be on triggered abilities because we're printing a lot of those, and having that much power on resolution was making the game very tedious to parse through.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this changes?
I like it. I think this is definitely one that deserves to be changed. I think the ability to, like you said, with fan was kind of the big example, was like that just made it so like you didn't know if it was going to happen or not. You were like, okay, is this actually going to like resolve or not? And knowing that, okay, yeah, that fan's gone, like you have to kill it before, and so like you can't like you still cheat stuff in if I'm not mistaken, but if like you have ambush but the fan is then gone, because like I feel like some people would try to like if I'm understanding that right,
if overzealous fan is your sole defender, you cannot ambush in because he'll be already gone.
Yeah.
But if you can't ambush in, but you can like reaction unit in, which is different. Ambush is not necessarily reaction, which we'll get into in a little bit later. But yeah, if you have a sole defender fan, you can't ambush in.
Yeah,
I actually think that this is a little bit of a buff to overzealous fan. Like while we're on the fan section itself, because you can't like gust the fan anymore. You have to preemptively do it. Because a lot of people would do the shenanigan of like move a unit in, wait for their fan trigger, and then gust the fan or do something to the fan. You can't interact with it during that showdown anymore. They get the option immediately and can put that May trigger on the stack and sack the fan. So it's like in some circumstances it's a little bit of a buff, but I think the overall May change is exactly where we need to be. It is much more straightforward. It will work as people will think it works, especially because other card games also have this effect essentially, which is just it's a cost to activate it. You pay that cost and then you do X thing. This falls in line with that, which will be more intuitive for players coming from other card games if they have played them before. And I don't think necessarily we should be tailoring our rules to those players. I think Riftbound could be its own separate entity with its own separate rules, but it is definitely a good change in my mind.
Yeah, I think the change is good and healthy for the game as a whole. I personally don't like it just from like my gameplay perspective, because I'm a player that really delves into these corner cases and these really niche rules interactions, and a lot of my muscle memory for Aurelia in particular was based in how these May triggers were affecting the game. So it's been a lot to try to sort of recoup to this change, and to me it makes the game feel a little bit less skill expressive, a little bit less interesting, but I think overall for health of the game it's a lot better. This is just something that I personally will have to get through and get used to again.
Yeah, definitely. I'm right there with you. I think that skill expression is great to have in a game. You need skill expression. I think that this doesn't remove it, it just kind of moves it into other avenues of skill expression, which is nice, because Riftbound definitely has a lot of these niche rules interaction. We're actually going to talk about some of them a bit later. I'm sure like the Legion thing is now a very niche rule interaction that is going to be skill expressive for those Legion players out there. So I think we definitely still have room for skill expression when it comes to specific rules knowledge. I will say that when there is specific rules knowledge, skill expression, sometimes that can be a very negative thing.
Sure.
If the rule is unintuitive in the first place.
For sure.
Because then it makes it like, oh.
It's like, haha, I knew this.
Right,
and you didn't,
it turns
so
into
I
like
win.
the rules lawyery.
It's an
type
I gotcha
gameplay.
thing, and it's just like that can result in, especially like on a community level, like if someone comes like their first skirmish and you're like, oh, I got you, like you didn't know this, but I did. That's going to create a toxic environment. People are not going to want to come back, and it's just I think dumbing it down in a sense in this regard, like so it's on everyone can be on playing with it in the same sense, I think is a very good idea.
A great example is Obelisk of Power and Arena's Greatest from set 1 before they made the change until end of turn.
Oh, just like mistriggering?
Yeah, where you just mistrigger the battlefield. That is a good example of the not really skill expression, more just rules lawyer. I got you. You didn't do your Obelisk trigger. You didn't do your Arena's Greatest trigger. And it's like, it's whatever. But yeah, so I definitely think that the May trigger is a good change.
For sure. We touched on Ambush, so we can jump down to Ambush and how Ambush itself is actually going to work in Unleashed. We have added this new thing about like conditional playing, where the act of playing a card will be very bizarre, where we're going to bounce through legality of how to play a card pretty much every time. So in the sort of same way that we loop cleanups, we're going to sort of loop legality as well and go through each time to make sure that cards are still being legal when they're played. So what does this mean in practice for Ambush? Ambush is a keyword that says that a unit has reaction so long as you are playing it to a battlefield that has another unit. So this means that if at any point in the process of finalizing the card, if that becomes illegal somehow, so say like Cruel Patron, if we gave Cruel Patron Ambush and we played him to a battlefield with the unit that he killed as the additional cost, he could not be played because now we found that this is illegal. So this will all get rewound and go back in. What this rule changed as far as how people were practically playing is a card like, Rengar Trophy Hunter. This keyword would imply that he cannot be used as a surprise defender. I have seen Grenton, who is a level 3 judge, say that this will still function the way that we want it to with Surprise Defender. I saw a note from Kelly, who is one of the rules designers on Riot, talking that there will be errata, and that this seemed like it was one of those on that list. So I assume that even if this looks like Rengar can't be used as a Surprise Defender, we will get clarity later that he can be. So that is Ambush in a nutshell. Another thing we talked about was Legion. Legion had a small change, which affects mainly one card the most and one specific interaction. Legion now works so long as you finalized another card onto the chain, which means that even if it gets countered, Legion is still active, which is very good. The only thing that hurts is a dear friend Sundisk, which if you were playing Sundisk, you probably already had a screw loose anyway. So maybe this will just help you back onto the path of sanity. Sundisk can no longer proc Legion on its own. If Sundisk is the first card you've played in a turn, you have to play another card in order to activate its Legion ability. So that's a nerf for that, but overall it just makes this more versatile for counters.
Yeah, I think that this change is actually something that I would say. I play Legion, right? Legion is my favorite keyword in the game, actually. I love it. I know.
So
I think it is weaker than every other keyword because it's conditional already to you having another thing on curve to be able to play to activate Legion, right? Every other keyword is just active in the game. This is the only keyword that acts that way. And so I think it's weaker than other keywords. I think this actually gives it kind of a needed buff because when you were getting your stuff countered and just couldn't play your Legion cards, you got so behind on tempos kind of over. So I think it's a good like pseudo buff to Legion. However, it does contradict what I just said earlier about making it more readable and more intuitive. I think that this goes the opposite direction. I think that this is a less intuitive thing that goes against how we have classed that cards are played. Because if you look at the rules document, 2 lines above where this change happens, where it's talking about finalizing a card on the chain, it says, Legion is a keyword that is I'm paraphrasing. Legion is a keyword that is activated when you play another card that turn, which is different because played and finalized is different.
Yes.
So it is still written confusingly. I've seen people trying to like rationalize it both ways. But the wording is clear. Finalized is just being put on the chain. So if card is countered, your Legion ability is active. But I think this moves us in the opposite direction of readability that we were talking about wanting in the game, even if it personally benefits me and how I like to play my Legion cards. It actually came up at locals just last night and worked this way. And I had to pull up the rules document and show them where the change happened. And yeah, it's unfortunate for readability of the game, but I think it is a good buff to Legion as a keyword that pretty drastically needed it, other than Sundisk.
Yeah. Notably, it also doesn't work this way for Darius because he's not Legion.
He's not Legion. He's not
so
a Legion
he
card.
will work very differently, even though he's supposed to be like Legion Light, I assume, is like
Legion
the way that he's
Light.
supposed to feel.
Yeah. But
so he will
says
function the
plain
exact same way.
specifically.
Yeah.
Another major change, which I don't know if it's on this paper, is conditional triggers. If a triggered ability has a condition in its effect, that is getting checked on finalization as well. And if it does not meet that condition, it does not enter the chain. So notably, this works for something like Grand Plaza. Grand Plaza has a condition to the trigger, which is 7 units existing on the battlefield, right? Under these new rules, when you hold, if you have less than 7 units on that battlefield, no trigger will enter the chain. This means that we no longer can do fun, cheap ways maybe to win, where we would hide cards on there and then flip it in response to the hold to get that 7 to get that win.
Yep.
These interactions no longer exist, but it does make it a little bit, it lessens our trigger bloat. So as we go into a set that has a bit more interaction on everything, we don't have to be as nitty gritty on what our triggers are. We just have to know when something is going to happen.
If somebody Grand Plaza'd and then used that trigger to Heedless Resurrection of Brynir, I would actually lose my mind. I'm just putting that out there. Like, I would actually go insane.
I mean, that's what I was doing.
Exactly.
But it was with Thrill of the Hunt, Rengar.
So I would actually just probably flip the table. So I am glad that this change has
Wait. I want to see that. I'll pay to see that.
No, so I'm glad that this change has occurred, but it does kind of kill a couple of those battlefields that would have been more niche played. Grand Plaza will see no play ever. Now,
Gutter Palace.
Yeah,
well,
there
was I was using a very cool setup in Lilia where going second, I would move Lilia onto a battlefield, hide Keeper of Masks, play the Gutter Palace. I have 4 cards in hand. When we go to my beginning step, if they didn't interact with me, then I can flip the Keeper and win the game. 2-card combo, win the game turn 3. It was cool. It doesn't exist anymore. People were using that Feather Storm card as well to do the same thing with Gutter Palace, where they would react to the trigger with Feather Storm and get the win. No longer possible. Gutter Palace is tough. It's now relegated to just like Time Warp fodder card.
I'll be totally honest with you, though. I'm incredibly happy that change occurred for that specific circumstance.
You don't like Whimsy, Eli. Where is your
I love Whimsy. I don't like 2-card combo wins.
Yeah.
I would play
2-card combo wins on turn 3.
It's interactable. Like, it's super interactable. It wasn't
super interactable. Just have a reaction.
No. You just walk into them on your turn. Like, what do you like? Come on. You can do, like, you've got so many things to do.
So funny. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so this is a big change that will affect some of those battlefields. Make sure to keep an eye out for it. If somebody is trying to say, oh no, this triggers, it will not trigger if it does not fulfill that condition that it needs to meet. So very important.
And I think this also goes along, like, we think with it just is in tangent with like the May thing, is we're now kind of seeing rules change to where like you have to meet that condition before it actually will go off. So I like personally also very much enjoy this conditional thing. I think it's good for the game. I think it makes it more cohesive in that regard as well.
Yeah, we're just reducing some trigger bloat. We don't want to have so many things entering the chain all the time that gets like unwieldy for a normal person to realize what's going on in the game. Because you could play a game of Riftbound and like not even acknowledge half of the triggers that are entering the chain. Yeah. And I think they're trying to make it so that everything that entering the chain is affecting the game in some way, and that's probably for the best.
This actually also more relevantly, I think, hits Ivern pretty hard, right? Ivern Legend, when you go in and you conquer, and you're wanting to meet the condition of having a cat, bird, Toro. Yeah, that, because oftentimes you would withhold the Stalking Wolf in your hands to play Stalking Wolf in response to the Ivern trigger
Correct.
to like
yeah.
sneak in the dog to get the 2 points.
Yeah.
You cannot do that anymore under these new rules, unfortunately. So that's also a relevant change that will affect Ivern.
Yep. And another relevant change that will affect Ivern, great segue, is how a draw game works. If for any point both players have exactly the same score that would win the game, right? Say we're going to 8 and both players somehow have 8 points at the same time. Our new rule for this is that the game will end the next time a point is scored. We never had a rule for how to handle this before, so this is like a new rule, not really like a replacement rule. But this will be most notable for Ivern when he is brushing like Aspirant's Climb and both players are now at 8. This just means that you guys will need to play until the next player can score a point the old-fashioned way. And if you're at this point, this means that you need to conquer both or hold one. So good change to know if you're playing Ivern, good change to know just in general.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last real thing that I want to touch on is discounts. If you have a discount that affects only part of the cost, that discount has to be applied first rather than cards that apply to the base. So most notable, this is for something like Ezreal Prodigy and Vex. Under these new rules, you have to apply Ezreal Prodigy first because it only affects the additional cost, which means that Vex can no longer bring things down below 1.
Which, again, for intuitive readability, I think this is a great change. Because you had to pull out like the entire rules document for somebody and like flip through like 3 sections to figure out why exactly this interaction worked the way it did. Which props off to Alan and those that figured out that it did like early on, but it's just absolutely insane that it worked that way in the first place. This is a good change.
There's a few other smaller, nitty-grittier changes throughout here, but those are the main ones that will affect how you actively play. Everything else will be more side grade, and if you want to read more closely to them, you can see the article for yourself, or you can watch Grenton's video with Turn of Sideways that went through it in much more depth.
Great video.
Yes, highly recommend that one. Moving on to our final segment today, we are going to be going over basically our favorite 3 cards that we're most excited to play with in set 3 and beyond. Eli, we'll start with you. You have Sprite Fountain, Dragon Soul Sage, and Zillion Time Mage.
Yeah, so you can tell this is kind of Lilia coded, right? Just a little bit.
Oh yeah, Dragon Soul Sage
from these cards. Yeah, Dragon Soul Sage, excellent in Lilia. Just
limited Lilia. What do you? Hold on, yeah, limited Lilia.
Oh, limited. Yeah, no, exactly.
That 5K, he's getting ready for it.
Sprite Fountain, though, just like in general, man, I think outside of Lilia, Sprite Fountain is just an excellent blue card. I think it's just a really, really strong blue card that they needed in the early game to really set them on par with a lot of the early games from the other colors. So I think this card is awesome. In Lilia, it's even more juiced to the point of being probably one of the better cards in the deck, if not the best card in the deck. But very, very strong card. So I'm pumped to play with this one and just blue decks moving forward. Dragon Soul Sage, I'm very excited to play with this card because currently what I'm not excited about is that Aurora didn't get banned. If Aurora got banned, I would be much more excited about this card. But I'm excited. I was excited about this card because I think it's the first mana rock we've seen in the game that's actually an efficient mana rock. The Lux that we had is not efficient at all. It's a 2 might, and you can only use it for spells, and it gets blown up and it costs power, I think, or something like that. And it might just be 4. It might be a 4 for 2.
It was 4 for 2 and then taps for 2.
Yeah. Just like an awful mana rock. But this one is a 2 for 1 that taps for 1 that you can use on anything on reaction. I think it's just really good. I'm thinking they're trying to make orange like a little bit more aggressive this set from what I've seen. Like they gave them obviously the Elder Dragon stuff and all the stuff for the top end Aurora. Yay. But they gave them a 1-drop that I think it's Sentry or whatever.
Determined Sentry.
Determined Sentry. About it later.
Yeah. Oh, are we? Perfect. Yeah. Determined Sentry. That card's cool. But and then we've got Punch First. I think that the early aggression orange decks are kind of getting the blocks laid out for them, and that's how I would prefer to play the color. So I'm excited for future sets and seeing what this card can do. Really, really pumped for that. And my last one is Zillion Time Mage. I love Zillion in League of Legends. He's one of the supports that I've put the most amount of hours onto. I think he also contributed to my arthritis in a major way with how much you have to spam his ability. QE or QWEQW. Like, it's just ridiculous. All in like 2 seconds. But yeah, so he definitely is a great League of Legends champion, but also is, I believe, our first token doubler that we have in the game so far, if I'm remembering correctly. His ability, for those that don't know, once each turn, if you would play a token unit while I'm at a battlefield, you may play that token and an additional copy of it instead. So this currently isn't that impactful on a lot of things, but as we get more cards that make more relevant tokens, this card could be incredibly powerful in those decks. I love token doublers and token extra token cards in Magic the Gathering. It's my preferred play style in Magic, so I'm glad to see that is getting ported over into this game as well. Pumped for Zillion to play with him in the future.
And for this one, we do actually have rules confirmation on how he's supposed to work.
Yes.
Which he will keep modifications.
Thank the Lord.
So
dude.
When you play Zillion, it will make a readied sprite token.
Thank you.
And it will make properly copies with reflections. That will also be ready and also be temporary, and all will be good.
Okay, that is a
he
huge
works the
boon.
way that you would expect him to function, which is
perfect.
Great.
Yeah, because we were just having, like, guys, we were going back and forth on Zillion for weeks.
Yeah.
On if this guy was going to work how we thought he was, and it was like I was I was almost like, man, do I even include him in my release decks if we don't get confirmation on how he works? Because I don't want to run into like all these problems. But that's perfect, because that is exactly how I wanted him to work, and I can get back to brewing with him. I'm very excited.
He's back on the Zillion train, everyone.
It was something like copies carry modifications for when they're played, something like that. Is the rule that carries this reasoning.
Yeah, no, awesome. Because people were telling me that it wouldn't come in readied because Zillion itself didn't say the card would be readied.
And to be fair, I said that too for how it would read at current, which I still felt was true and accurate. But now that we have changes, we adjust with the changes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'm very excited about that. That makes me even more excited to play with this card. Really awesome card.
Yeah.
Moving on, Ghael, you have
I've got
Ultrasoft
Poro, Baron Nashor, and Starspring. So we got a really strange swath of cards here.
Yep.
Ultrasoft Poro is just from my Fat Poro church. Oh my gosh, I love playing this card in LeBlanc so very much. Being able to make a readied copy of him so we can just start spitting out the birds, and then having like a victor leader in the back line, so birds turn into dudes, and then dudes turn into points. Oh, it's great. I love that deck so much. I think I've like fully converted my wife to Fat Poro Church as well.
Let's go.
So that's great. Sorry, Episcopal Church, we're no longer there anymore. Unfortunate. We have converted.
Is she laughing in the background?
Yeah. And Baron Nashor as my second pick is just because this is like the biggest purple card we've ever had. And I love big purple, which is very different compared to Big Pharma. Yeah, it's very different than Big Pharma. Big Purple is maybe a little bit more malicious. The Riftbound community probably hates them a bit more. But yeah, Baron Nashor is just this really cool card. I've been trying to play him a lot in Teemo, ramping him with Ripper's Bay, and then putting down Teemo with a bunch of hidden cards. It's a lot worse now that Thoth is gone. Thanks, guys. Whoever ruined that for me, I hate you all. That being said, I love this card. I think he's a little bit weaker than what I originally had hoped he would be, but I think he's super sick, and especially into the future when we get my Order Purple deck, Baron Nashor is going to come back in a big way then.
Purple Order is going to be so good.
Purple Order will be very, very strong Chaos Order. I'm not looking forward to that color combination, to be totally honest with you.
I'm excited. Oh, I'm so excited.
But Baron, I agree that Baron's a little bit weaker than I initially thought, but man, it's a cool card. Very cool card.
Dude. And his ultimate.
Yeah.
The last card that I have brought is Starspring, which is just because this fits into that nice little tricky part of my soul that I love. There's a lot of cool things you could be doing with this one to bounce it back. I've seen it be used in Kha'Zix, where they would move like Irresistible Feyfolk in, and then play Kha'Zix there to bounce back the Feyfolk so that Kha'Zix kills whatever they bring in without putting the Feyfolk at risk. Very cool combination. I've used this in LeBlanc just to be able to have pseudo ganking. 2 ganking battlefields is pretty nice. I think there's a lot of experimentation to be had with this battlefield, and I think the more we get to it, the trickier it becomes and the cooler it gets.
Yeah. Important note for us, since we're a Lilia podcast and nothing else. When you have blue Lilia on this battlefield, you can play a unit there, move the blue Lilia back, create a sprite, move the blue Lilia to the other battlefield or the same battlefield, create a sprite, and then your hero power is only 2. Pretty good. It's fun.
Very good card.
Wait, run
moving
that past me
on.
again. Are you trying to move her with the token being played there? Because it doesn't work on tokens.
No. You just play a card from your hand. So you have Lilia at that battlefield.
Okay.
Ready,
Then you play
like held, ready. Yeah.
Understood. I was like, oh no, I've had this misconception before. Tokens don't trigger it.
No, that would be really good. If
that would be crazy.
For our Spotify listeners, by the way, Ultrasoft Poro, 5 energy, 5 might. Tap it, play 2 1 might bird tokens with deflect only while he's at a battlefield. LeBlanc makes him come in ready. Baron Nashor needs no introduction. You all have read that card. Don't worry about it. And then Star Spring, first time a player plays a non-token unit here, each turn they move another unit here, or unit they control here to its base. Very cool.
Finally,
good cards, Ghael. I like those a lot.
Okay. So I wasn't talking about the 1-drop. I thought 1 might. I got it mixed up. But my cards I chose were Irresistible Faithhook. This is a 2-cost 1-drop in orange, 2-cost 1 might in orange. When I move to a battlefield, you may move an enemy unit to that battlefield. I also have Abandon. Shoot me. I don't really care. Shoot me in the foot. I love Abandon. This is going to be so much fun to play with. I have already been testing it.
What is your definition of fun, Teddy?
Fun.
I like making. I like making people sometimes mad at me when I play games. That's how I like to.
Okay.
That's how I like to aggravate people just a little bit. And then Amateur Recital. We were actually talking about this earlier before. Earlier in the day, when you hold here, you may move a unit to a battlefield to its base. I needed my FOF in my life, so this is the best I guess I can get. And so I chose Irresistible Faithful because I think there's a lot of fun things you can do with this, and being able to kind of obviously you're playing in green, you have to watch out for not so fast, but I also think that you can do a lot of fun things. I was doing some interesting things with Kha'Zix with this. Ghael's having a reaction to me.
I'm just saying, like, if you not so fast, Irresistible.
No, I know.
I think you've already won. I think
the game is already over.
I think it's okay.
Irresistible Faithhook.
But you can do a lot of fun things in Kha'Zix with this, so I'm excited to keep testing that out. Abandon also has just been really fun of even a counter spell and just kind of put it back, and then you also get Just Scry 1, which is just a cherry on top, and then Amateur Recital. This is interesting because I'm curious. I don't know, Ghael, if he used this in Aurelia yet. I haven't. I haven't got back around to testing really for set 3, but it feels okay in Aurelia. But that's the one place, huh?
You want me to hold?
Well, okay, you play. I guess we play 2 different. If I get stuck there, that's what I'm saying. But probably in that regard, probably not. But I still want to test. I want to test this with some hold decks. I want to test this with Vex hold.
I was going to say, I think Vex is the primary deck that this juices up heavily. It's really good in Vex.
So,
also,
I mean, Vex is on the art.
LeBlanc and some other decks as well.
Yeah. But I'm very much excited about these 3 cards. I want to build something orange-purple next set. I don't know if it's going to be good. It probably won't be, but that might be my pet deck next set with Faithful and Abandon and have some fun with that stuff. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Any thoughts on these 3 cards, guys? Just curious.
I think you guys are overselling Amateur Recital a bit. I had the same reaction with Amateur Recital, but it ends up being either it's conflicting with other better hold fields. Like, honestly, this is like Windswept is a better hold field than Amateur Recital.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever lose it as Vex, you get really annoyed. Because that just makes fighting into the Vex much, much easier if you bounce anything away. Like, you bounce the Vex Apathetic away, and now it's like, okay, I've unlocked my entire deck again. So I think this field ends up being a lot more of a liability for a lot of decks. I think because everyone can use it pretty well. Especially if you are a hold deck, you go into a hold pattern style game where you each take a field and you each use both of those fields. And there are better going first fields. So Amateur Recital is probably not going to be your going first field. And if you ever lose control over it, it's really bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
So this generally means that this probably won't see too much play, I think, just because it's just slightly under the rest.
All I'm going to say is this thing pushed my Galio off my battlefield twice in one game. and they just completely fucking demolished me after doing so because they could just walk into my stuff. I agree that it's not going to be like absolutely insane. However, I think that it's a very breakable battlefield. If there is ever a deck that uses this well, it is going to use it very well. And it's also like just movement abilities in general. Being able to proc movement abilities with this card is quite strong. Like moving a treasure hunter back or a Stella back or whatever you're wanting to is giving you 2 procs of that movement ability that turn for free, as long as you held there. So that's definitely something to look at, especially like say we get a card that's like, when you move me, you may give a unit -2. Or something, and it helps you break the other battlefields. Essentially, there's just a lot of future things I think this battlefield could definitely do. But I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be the best in this set, like this upcoming set. But I think it's definitely if it gets you, it gets you. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be one of those ones that like if it gets you, it's going to win the game in some of those circumstances. But
I feel like it's going to be one of those ones that gets flipped over that people may have not like thought about right away. Because I think it can be a trap, I think, at some points. Because you're like, oh my gosh, I have to deal with everything that's holding here. So I'm just going to use Thoth back. And that's my one thing. Is like, okay, you could probably have some fun with that there. But I also like agree that it's probably not going to be like amazing. But as time goes on, this is a card that just gets pretty good. Depending on what we get.
I would say it is a win more card.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Just by definition, it is a win more card. And win more cards, unless they are very unbalanced, are oftentimes not played. However, when you have a win more card that is like fringe playable, it just needs something to break it. And then once it's good, it's
and then it gets banned.
Yeah, once it's good, it's not win more anymore. It becomes just really, really strong. So something to keep an eye on. I like this pick from you, Penny. I hate abandon. Get us out of there. Click off that screen.
Well, we will get you guys out of here. We appreciate everyone listening to episode 17. Lots of good stuff. Now we're kind of in the second half of set 2. We have Lille and Atlanta that people now that our bands are here are starting to test for. Ghael, I believe you got into Atlanta, correct? I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then Eli, are you in Atlanta as well?
No, I did not get on to work Atlanta or a competitor badge.
Ooh.
So I'm still up in the air on going. I work nights on the weekend, so I would have to take off 3 days to go. And without either of those options, I might not do that. But I definitely will be in Hartford later this year.
Yeah, I agree. I will also be in Hartford.
Be doing that one.
That's the one I'll be missing.
No,
I'll be
that's unfortunate.
Well, I mean, let's say it's that unfortunate. I'll be on a cruise with my wife. So,
okay.
Okay.
That's very fortunate, I would say, actually.
But yeah, where can everyone find you, Eli, on the interwebs?
Yep, battle tested TCG everywhere you're gonna look. I just got a lot more free time on my plate, so should be posting some content here soon. Very excited. My daughter's spring break is this week, and then once that spring break is over, I should have ample time. Currently, this is her first spring break that she's had because it's her first year in daycare, and this week has been very difficult to try to keep my sleep schedule consistent. But it's a good thing. Should be getting some more stuff out soon. Battle tested TCG.
Yep.
Me, I am Ghael Wins with 2 S's on Twitter, and I'm Ghael Wins Riftbound for YouTube.
Beautiful. You guys have heard that probably so many times every week, but I am Limited Teddy on Twitter, YouTube, wherever you want to find me. You can find us on X at SM Riftbound, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Super Mega Riftbound. We appreciate you all listening to episode 17. We'll see you guys next week for episode 18.
See you guys.